Life does not begin equally for everyone. Some people are born into comfort, safety, and certainty. Others are born into chaos, fear, and pain. I was one of those people who grew up in pain. As a child, I did not feel safe. I did not feel protected. I did not feel certain about tomorrow. There were moments when food was not guaranteed. There were moments when love felt conditional. There were moments when fear lived in my body, not just in my mind. When you grow up like this, life teaches you very early that survival comes first. You don't think about dreams. You don't think about purpose. You don't think about happiness. You think about one thing only. How do I get through today? This is what I call survival mode. In survival mode, your mind is always alert. Your body is always tense. Your emotions are always reacting. You are not living. You are surviving. Many people spend their entire lives in this state without realizing it. Pain does something powerful to a human being. It can destroy you. Or it can drive you. For a long time, my pain felt like a prison. I was angry. I was confused. I was frustrated. I looked at the world and asked, why is life so hard for me? But slowly, something inside me began to change. I noticed something important. I noticed that pain gives you energy. It gives you intensity. It gives you focus. But only if you learn how to use it. Most people do not. They let pain turn into fear. Fear turns into excuses. Excuses turn into a small life. I decided I did not want a small life. That decision did not come from comfort. It came from hunger. Not hunger for food. Hunger for more. More meaning. More strength. More control over my life. This hunger became the fuel that changed everything. I began to see that stress is not the real enemy. The real enemy is meaningless stress. Stress without purpose destroys you. Stress with meaning grows you. When you lift weights, your muscles feel stress. But that stress makes you stronger. Life works the same way. The question is not, why is my life stressful? The real question is, what is this stress preparing me for? Most people try to manage their stress. They try to escape it. They try to numb it. I learned something different. You cannot manage your way to a great life. You must create your way to a great life. Managing life keeps you stuck in survival. Creating life moves you into growth. This realization was a turning point for me. I began to understand that my past did not define me. It trained me. Every difficult moment had given me strength. Every painful experience had sharpened my awareness. What once felt like a curse began to feel like preparation. Another thing became very clear to me. The biggest difference between people who succeed and people who stay stuck is not intelligence. It is not money. It is not luck. It is hunger. Hunger is the deep desire to become more. To do more. To give more. Some people lose hunger as they grow older. Comfort kills it. Familiarity kills it. But pain can awaken hunger in a powerful way. I realized that if I could keep my hunger alive, life would never defeat me. I did not know exactly where I was going. I did not have a perfect plan. But I had something stronger than a plan. I had hunger. Hunger kept me learning when others quit. Hunger kept me moving when others complained. Hunger kept me searching when others settled. Slowly my identity began to change. I was no longer someone trying to escape pain. I became someone trying to grow. And this shift changed everything. I stopped asking, how do I avoid suffering? I started asking, how do I turn suffering into strength? Life did not suddenly become easy. But it became meaningful. And meaningful struggle is very different from meaningless pain. Meaningful struggle gives you direction. It gives you pride. It gives you power. This was only the beginning of my journey. At this stage, I was still learning how the mind works. I was still discovering how decisions shape destiny. I was still unaware of the patterns that control most people's lives. But one thing was clear. I was no longer just surviving. I was waking up. And once hunger wakes up inside you, it never truly sleeps again. Part 2: Decisions, Patterns, and Reprogramming the Mind. After hunger woke up inside me, a new question appeared in my mind. If hunger gives energy, why do so many hungry people still stay stuck? I began to observe people carefully. Some people work hard, yet their lives never change. Others make one decision and everything shifts. That's when I discovered a powerful truth. Your life does not change when your circumstances change. Your life changes when your decisions change. Most people think they are deciding freely. But in reality, they are repeating the same mental patterns every day. Same thoughts. Same emotions. Same reactions. Same results. This is not because they are weak. It is because the human mind loves familiarity. The mind would rather be certain than successful, even if that certainty is painful. I realized that if I wanted a different life, I had to break my old patterns. And to break patterns, I needed to understand how decisions are made. I learned that every human decision is controlled by three forces. The first force is focus. What you focus on controls what you feel. If you focus on what you lack, you feel weak. If you focus on what you can control, you feel strong. Most people focus on problems they cannot change. This drains their energy. I trained myself to ask a different question. What can I control right now? That single shift gave me power in moments where I once felt helpless. The second force is meaning. Nothing has meaning until you give it meaning. Two people can face the same problem. One becomes bitter. The other becomes better. The difference is not the problem. The difference is the meaning. If you believe pain means you are broken, you quit. If you believe pain means you are growing, you continue. I decided to change the meaning of my struggles. I stopped telling myself, this is happening to me. I started telling myself, this is happening for me. That change alone transformed my emotional state. The third force is action. Most people wait until they feel motivated to act. But motivation follows action, not the other way around. Small actions change your state. Your state changes your choices. Your choices change your life. I learned to move even when I felt uncertain. Especially when I felt uncertain. Because clarity comes from movement. As I studied people who succeeded in different areas of life, I noticed something else. They all understood patterns. Life runs on patterns. So does success. So does failure. I discovered 3 levels of growth. Pattern recognition. This is awareness. You notice what you do when you are stressed. You notice what thoughts appear when things go wrong. You notice how you react instead of respond. Most people never reach this level. Pattern utilization. This is intelligence. You use what you notice to improve your life. You change small habits. You adjust daily behaviors. This is where progress begins. Pattern creation. This is mastery. You no longer react to life. You design it. You create new habits, new beliefs, and new systems. This changed how I looked at everything. I stopped blaming the world. I started studying myself. Another powerful realization changed my direction. There are 2 types of motivation. Push motivation and pull motivation. Push motivation comes from pain, fear, pressure, deadlines. It works, but it burns you out. Pull motivation comes from vision, purpose, meaning. It pulls you forward instead of pushing you from behind. I realized I had been living mostly in push motivation. Pain pushed me to move. Fear pushed me to act. But to grow long-term, I needed pull motivation. I needed a reason bigger than survival. I began to imagine a future version of myself. Someone calm. Someone capable. Someone useful. This image pulled me forward on difficult days. I also began to understand the seasons of life. Life is not always growth. Sometimes it is winter. You feel stuck. Nothing moves. Sometimes it is spring. New ideas appear. Sometimes it is summer. Things grow fast. Sometimes it is fall. You harvest what you planted. Most people panic in winter. They think something is wrong. But winter is preparation. I learned to respect every season. Instead of fighting life, I learned to flow with it. Journaling became one of my most powerful tools. Writing slowed my thoughts. It made patterns visible. When thoughts stay in your head, they control you. When thoughts go on paper, you control them. Slowly my mind became quieter, clearer, stronger. I was no longer controlled by emotions. I could observe them. This is where real freedom begins. I was not perfect. I still failed. I still doubted. But now I understood why. And understanding gives power. By changing my focus, my meaning, and my actions, I was no longer a victim of my past. I was becoming the creator of my future. And this mental shift prepared me for the next stage of my journey. Learning how to grow faster, think smarter, and build a life beyond survival. Part 3: Learning faster, growing stronger, and using stress as power. After changing how I made decisions, another challenge appeared. I realized something uncomfortable. The world was changing faster than I was. New technology. New problems. New competition. What worked yesterday was not enough anymore. So I asked myself an important question. How do the most successful people learn so fast? The answer surprised me. They don't learn more information. They learn better systems. Most people read books, watch videos, attend courses, but very little actually stays. Why? Because the human brain does not learn through information. It learns through experience. This is when I understood the power of immersion. Think about language learning. Many people study a language for years in school, but they still cannot speak. Why? Because learning without immersion is shallow. If you drop someone into a new country, with no help, no translator, no escape, they will learn the language. Not perfectly, but effectively. Why? Because survival forces learning. Emotion locks memory. This is why intense moments stay in your mind forever. Not because they were logical, but because they were emotional. I started using this idea in everything I wanted to learn. Instead of studying a little every day with no urgency, I went deep. Short time. High focus. High emotion. This method changed everything. Another concept became clear. Stress is not the enemy. Misuse stress is the enemy. There are two kinds of stress. Distress. This weakens you. It drains energy. It creates fear. Eustress. This strengthens you. It sharpens focus. It builds resilience. The difference is not the stress itself. The difference is how you use it. Most people try to avoid stress. But stress is unavoidable. Everyone will experience loss, pressure, failure, uncertainty. The real question is, will stress break you or build you? I learned that stress becomes powerful when it has meaning. If stress has no purpose, it feels like torture. If stress serves a mission, it feels like growth. This is why people can suffer for years for something they love, but cannot tolerate small pain for something they hate. I stopped asking, how do I avoid stress? I started asking, how do I use this stress? This changed my relationship with difficulty. Hard moments were no longer enemies. They were teachers. I also noticed something else about high performers. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They act in uncertainty. Most people want certainty before they move. But certainty comes after movement, not before. Clarity is created by action. Confidence is built by repetition. No one feels confident before they start. Confidence comes from surviving discomfort. This mindset helped me break another illusion. The illusion of balance. People talk about work-life balance as if life is stable. Life is not stable. Life is seasonal. Sometimes you push hard. Sometimes you recover. Trying to balance everything at all times creates guilt. Instead, I learned to sequence life. There are seasons of focus. There are seasons of rest. High performers respect both. Another powerful realization was about identity. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your identity. If you see yourself as someone who quits, you will quit. If you see yourself as someone who adapts, you will adapt. Identity is shaped by small promises kept. Every time you do what you said you would do, your identity strengthens. Every time you break a promise to yourself, your identity weakens. So I stopped chasing massive goals. I started keeping small commitments. Wake up when I said I would. Finish what I started. Show up when it was uncomfortable. These small wins rebuilt trust with myself. Trust creates confidence. Confidence creates momentum. Momentum changes everything. I also learned the danger of information overload. Too much input without reflection creates confusion. So I began to capture knowledge. Writing, recording, reviewing. Learning is not complete until it is structured. When information is organized, it becomes wisdom. When it is not, it becomes noise. Another truth became clear. Success is not about intelligence. I have met incredibly smart people who are stuck, and I have met average people who are unstoppable. The difference is hunger. Not hunger for money. Not hunger for praise. Hunger to grow. Hunger to give. Hunger to become more. This hunger does not die. It evolves. This is why some people remain curious at 70, while others become rigid at 30. Curiosity keeps the mind alive. I made curiosity a daily habit. Instead of saying, I already know this, I asked, what can I learn here? This question opened doors everywhere. Slowly my fear of failure reduced. Failure became feedback. Mistakes became lessons. Life became a training ground, not a courtroom. I was no longer judging myself. I was improving myself. And this prepared me for the next stage of life. Building impact beyond myself. And understanding why success without meaning feels empty. Part 4: From personal success to meaning, love, and contribution. After learning how to grow faster and stronger, I reached a strange point in life. On the outside, things looked good. I was improving. I was achieving goals. I was becoming more capable. But inside, a quiet question appeared. Is this all? This question does not come when you are failing. It comes when you are winning. Many people think success will silence all doubts. It doesn't. Success removes survival problems, but it reveals meaning problems. When survival is solved, the mind asks deeper questions. Why am I doing this? Who am I doing this for? What does this lead to? I realized something important. Achievement without meaning feels empty. You can climb very high and still feel lost. This is why many successful people feel unhappy. Not because success is bad, but because success alone is incomplete. I began to notice a pattern. The people who felt most alive were not chasing money or status. They were serving something bigger than themselves. Their work had a mission. Mission gives energy. Mission gives direction. Mission gives peace. Without a mission, effort feels heavy. With a mission, effort feels natural. This is when I understood the difference between success and fulfillment. Success is external. Fulfillment is internal. Success is measured by numbers. Fulfillment is measured by meaning. Success asks, how much did I get? Fulfillment asks, how much did I give? This changed how I saw leadership. True leadership is not control. It is contribution. Leaders are not people with the most power. They are people with the most responsibility. A real leader does not ask, what can I take? A real leader asks, how can I help? I also learned something surprising. Love is not weakness. For a long time, I thought love made people soft. I was wrong. Love makes people brave. When you love deeply, you care deeply. And when you care deeply, you are willing to sacrifice. The strongest people I know are not driven by ego. They are driven by love. Love for their family. Love for their team. Love for humanity. Love gives strength that fear never can. Fear pushes you forward for a short time. Love pulls you forward for a lifetime. This changed my idea of motivation. Motivation based on fear burns out. Motivation based on love renews itself. I started asking myself a new question. If I had everything I needed, how would I serve the world? This question changed my priorities. Money became a tool, not a goal. Skills became instruments, not trophies. Time became precious. I realized that time is the real currency of life. You can earn money again. You can rebuild businesses. But you cannot buy back time. So how you spend your time shows what you truly value. I also thought about legacy. Not legacy in terms of fame, but legacy in terms of impact. When you are gone, what will remain? Your words, your work, your influence on people. Legacy is not built at the end of life. It is built every day. Every conversation matters. Every example matters. Every choice matters. Even small kindness creates ripples. I learned that you don't need millions of people to create impact. You need sincerity. One honest message can change one life, and one changed life can change many more. This is how real impact grows. Slowly, quietly, deeply. Another realization hit me hard. Life is fragile. No one is promised tomorrow. This truth is uncomfortable. So most people avoid it. But avoiding it makes life smaller. Accepting it makes life richer. When you remember that life is short, you stop wasting time on ego. You stop fighting unnecessary battles. You stop delaying what matters. You start telling people you love them. You start doing meaningful work. You start living fully. I also saw that giving does not reduce you. It expands you. The more you give, the more capable you become. Giving sharpens your skills. Giving clarifies your purpose. Giving connects you to others. Contribution creates belonging. And belonging creates peace. This is why service heals people. Not because it solves all problems, but because it reminds you that you matter. Your existence has value. Your effort has meaning. At this stage, success stopped being the destination. It became the vehicle. A vehicle to serve. A vehicle to teach. A vehicle to build something useful. I no longer wanted to be impressive. I wanted to be useful. This shift changed everything. Pressure reduced. Joy increased. Work felt lighter. Even when it was hard. Because now the struggle had a reason. And that reason was not ego. It was contribution. This prepared me for the final understanding. The deepest lesson of all. What truly matters at the end of life. And how to live so that nothing important is left undone. Part 5: The Final Truth: How to Live Fully Without Fear. As life moves forward, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. Everything changes. People change. Dreams change. Bodies change. Time moves on whether we are ready or not. For a long time, I tried to control everything. I wanted certainty. I wanted guarantees. I wanted to know what would happen next. But life does not work that way. Life is not something you control. Life is something you experience. The moment I accepted this, something inside me relaxed. I realized that peace does not come from knowing everything. Peace comes from trusting yourself to handle whatever comes. Most people fear the future because they don't trust themselves. They think, what if I fail? What if I lose? What if I suffer? But the real question is not, what if it happens? The real question is, can I handle it if it happens? And the answer is usually yes. You are stronger than you think. You have survived more than you remember. Every difficult moment you faced in the past was once the future you were afraid of. And yet here you are. This realization changes fear into confidence. Not confidence that nothing bad will happen, but confidence that you can respond wisely. I also thought deeply about death. Most people avoid this topic, but avoiding it does not make it disappear. Thinking about death does not make life dark. It makes life precious. When you remember that life is temporary, you stop postponing happiness. You stop saying one day. You start saying today. Today I will speak honestly. Today I will forgive. Today I will try. Death teaches urgency without panic. It reminds us that time is limited. But meaning is unlimited. No one knows what happens after life. Some believe in heaven. Some believe in rebirth. Some believe in nothing. The truth is we don't know. But what we do know is this. We are here now. And this moment is real. So the most important question is not, what happens after death? The most important question is, how will I live while I am alive? Will I live in fear or courage? Will I live in anger or love? Will I live reacting or choosing? Life rewards those who choose consciously. Not perfect choices. Honest choices. You don't need to be extraordinary. You need to be authentic. Trying to impress the world is exhausting. Trying to express your true self is freeing. I learned that happiness is not a destination. It is a skill. And like any skill, it can be practiced. Happiness comes from alignment. When your actions match your values, your mind becomes calm. When your words match your heart, your relationships become real. When your work matches your purpose, your energy increases. Misalignment creates stress. Alignment creates peace. Another powerful lesson became clear. You don't find yourself. You create yourself. Every habit you build is a vote for the person you are becoming. Every decision shapes your future identity. You are not stuck. You are becoming. And becoming is always in your control. Even in pain, you have choice. You may not control events, but you control meaning. Two people can face the same hardship. One becomes bitter. The other becomes wiser. The difference is interpretation. Pain can be a prison or a teacher. Suffering asks a question. What will you become because of this? I also learned that life is not about balance. It is about rhythm. Sometimes you push. Sometimes you rest. Sometimes you grow fast. Sometimes you pause. Fighting this rhythm creates burnout. Respecting it creates longevity. You don't need to be intense all the time. You need to be consistent. Small actions done daily create massive change over time. This applies to learning, to health, to relationships, to character. Finally, everything came together into one simple truth. A meaningful life is built on three things: growth, love, contribution. Growth keeps you alive. Love keeps you human. Contribution makes it all matter. Remove any one of these, and life feels incomplete. When you grow, you feel capable. When you love, you feel connected. When you contribute, you feel fulfilled. This is the formula. Not easy, but simple. And simplicity is powerful. So if I could leave you with one message, it would be this. Don't wait to be fearless. Act with fear. Don't wait to be perfect. Start imperfectly. Don't wait for permission. Give yourself permission. Live as if today matters. Because it does. Speak as if your words matter. Because they do. Give as if your contribution matters. Because it always does. And when your time finally comes, may you look back and say, I lived fully. I loved deeply. I gave honestly. That is a life well lived.